Nero sent them both to crush it, father and son, at the same time. It had the appearance of a routine operation, but the forces had not yet massed before the walls when Nero pressed a blade to his own throat. Then came what followed: 12 months, for emperors, for thrones. The fifth was the very commander who had been running the siege. Vespasian returned to take Rome. He left his 27-year-old son behind, alone, in front of those walls. What Titus staged from that point forward stands as one of the most detailed and most brutal siege accounts etched into the pages of antiquity. The spark had caught 4 years earlier. When Governor Gessius Florus dipped into the temple treasury, Jerusalem began to burn. Armed fanatics, short blades concealed beneath cloaks, knocked down Roman collaborators in broad daylight in the crowds, then melted back into them. Rome sent 12,000 soldiers. The 12th Legion was ambushed and destroyed at the passes of Beth Horon. The survivors fled and left behind the most precious thing they possessed, the legion's eagle. The honor of an entire legion now sat beneath an enemy boot. Rome neither forgot nor forgave anything. Titus came with 4 legions, the 5th, the 10th, the 12th, the 15th. But his first order was not an assault. He sent a man down to the base of the walls, close enough to be heard. That man was Flavius Josephus, someone who had once raised a sword against Rome, surrendered to Vespasian in 67, and now spoke on Titus's behalf. His family was still inside. They were hostages. He called out in Aramaic. The offer was clear: lay down your weapons, submit, save your lives. The temple would remain untouched. Titus was pledging this with his own mouth. The answer was a torrent of insults, then a stone. He tried a second time. The same. The 3 factions inside the city, John of Giscala, Simon bar Joara, Eleazar ben Simon, despised one another, yet on this they were agreed. There would be no surrender. Titus then had the trees cut down. Across a 15-kilometer radius, every point the eye could reach, oak, olive, figure. The landscape surrounding the most sacred city on earth was turned into a field of stumps. Timber was needed for ramps, mobile towers, catapults, and crosses. That summer in Jerusalem, the Romans began crucifying 500 people a day. When Titus arrived, 3 separate wars were already being fought inside. Simon held the lower quarters with 10,000 men. John held the Temple Mount with 6,000 zealots. The hatred they carried for each other ran no less deep than what they felt toward Rome. John torched Simon's grain stores. Simon torched John's. The provisions that would have kept the city alive for years turned to ash in a matter of days, not as a military tactic, but out of sheer enmity. Titus did not wait. He divided his army and launched a contest among the legions, who would finish his section of wall first. 72 hours. A city of 103 square kilometers was locked inside a stone ring 11 kilometers long, with 13 bastions. No food could enter. No one could leave. By the time the 3 leaders who had been at each other's throats realized what had happened, it was already too late. The battering rams advanced, wheeled war machines, leather-covered against arrows, iron-tipped at the end. The Romans called these devices Victor, against the northern wall, day and night, without pause. On the 15th day, the stone gave way. The Romans entered the Bezetha district and discovered that the real difficulty was only just beginning. These were streets too narrow for a legion to form up side by side. 4-story buildings, and from the rooftops, stones, arrows, boiling oil. The Romans advanced in a formation where they locked their shields above their heads into an iron ceiling, meter by meter, house by house. Titus ordered the captured neighborhoods burned to clear the way forward. The second wall fell 5 days after the first. Those who tried to flee were caught. And here, outside these walls, history arrives at a point where even quoting Josephus feels like a weight. 500 prisoners a day, from dawn through dusk, crucified. Josephus writes, the legionaries gradually began experimenting with different positions, from habit, from cruelty, from boredom. It is impossible to say. The historian records that Titus was filled with revulsion when he saw the scene. But he did not stop it, because they were the most powerful psychological instrument he possessed. A rumor spread through the army. The wealthy residents of Jerusalem were swallowing gold coins before trying to escape. Syrian and Arab auxiliary troops, not Roman legionaries, but allied forces, began cutting open everyone they captured. Josephus writes that 2,000 people were killed this way in a single night. Titus learned what had happened in the morning. He ordered exemplary punishments. But controlling 100,000 men in the darkness of a military camp was impossible. Before the assault day arrived, Titus chose to grind the enemy down first. Dozens of catapults positioned on the surrounding hills bombarded the city day and night, not only to breach the walls, but to shatter the minds of those defending them. The artillerists of the 10th Legion Fretensis were the sharpest shooters in the army. They hurled 25-kilogram stones, some the weight of a man. Josephus recounts, over time, the defenders developed eyes that swept the sky. The stones were white and visible by day. The Romans painted them black. For a while, warning cries rose from the towers whenever a stone was spotted coming. Then the cries stopped, because they could no longer see them. For siege ramps stood ready. Weeks of labor. John of Giscala had watched them growing from the walls every day. Every day his men had been quietly tunneling beneath them, filling the passages with wooden supports coated in pitch and tar. On the 1st of July, they set the supports alight. The ground collapsed, and all 4 ramps plunged into the void in a matter of seconds. The 10-meter timber siege towers raised by months of effort slowly tilted, split apart, and rolled into the abyss like trees torn from their roots. Titus assembled the war council. Some commanders said, "Let us return to passive siege. Starvation will finish the job." Titus said, "No, we start again." Before Titus could call for volunteers against the Antonia fortress, someone unexpected stepped forward at his side. The Syrian Sabinus, described by Josephus as small, misshapen, yet with a heart larger than any palace. 11 more men with him. At midnight, they climbed over the rubble. Sabinus was the first to reach the top. The guards woke, the others froze. Sabinus rose to his feet and fought alone until he was overwhelmed by blows. The fortress did not fall that night, but Titus had seen enough. The defense could be broken. Soon he sent more men into the dark. This time the guards were asleep and were silenced without a sound. Jerusalem understood that the Romans were no longer at the gate. They were inside. The temple was not to burn. That was Titus's order. He did not merely want to conquer it. He wanted to carry it back to Rome as a living trophy of victory. Stone and gold proof that no people could defy the empire and remain standing. In the disorienting chaos of the assault, a legionary hurled a torch. Perhaps it was rage, perhaps insubordination, perhaps the blind reflex of a battle that had long since slipped its leash. The flames reached inside. They climbed through timber, oil, and sacred objects. Titus ordered them extinguished. But Rome, which had subdued seas and peoples, could not subdue its own fire this time. The temple burned, and with it, the heart of Jerusalem burned. When the smoke rose above the city, the revolt was effectively over. Rome had taken Jerusalem. The temple was ash. The province appeared subdued. But in the desert, at a point where the human mind struggles to believe anything could have been built on such a sheer rock, some had still not put down their weapons. The name of that fortress was Masada. If you want me to continue, write Masada in the comments.